Welcome back to the UFOcast. We've been away for a little bit because real life and the dates that we'd set caught up with us and whizzed by, and we hadn't recorded this next batch of episodes.
I know, it's terrible.
Yes. When we started out on this venture, Michael and I had more time available during the day to schedule recordings, and that flexibility has now disappeared, so we're restricted to finding evenings where both of our wives are doing something else.
Yeah, basically that's it, yeah. I now make specialist wheelchairs for people, as opposed to walking around inside a media museum, which means I no longer work in the building with Thunderbird 2, which is a bit sad, but I am actually a slightly more important and useful member of society, so it swings and roundabouts. Yes.
That is swings and roundabouts, isn't it?
But I've missed talking about UFO.
I have as well, because I watched these a few weeks ago in preparation for recording, and then we just couldn't get a date together, could we?
I know, it's ridiculous, because before we record, I always like to have the episode on my... I've got it on my phone. I've got them all transferred to MP4, so I can listen to them in the car through the Bluetooth. So I get to listen to the episodes a bit like everyone who knows I like to listen to the big finishes. So I'm always listening to these just before we do it so I can get my head around it. But it does mean that I'm at a slight disadvantage when it comes to Who Watch, because I'm not actually watching the episode. I have obviously watched them beforehand, but I like to remind myself of what the episodes are like immediately before we record. So I have done this on the other times that we thought we might record. I've spent all day doing those again. So I think I've now listened to these about 4 times in the last few weeks. So in order not to jinx it today, I didn't do that.
Well, the other thing to say is that I did a video episode and I got it wrong. And that was corrected almost immediately by somebody who watched the episode. I hopefully will do another video episode correcting my mistake about the difference between 24 and 25 frames.
It's an easy mistake to make. The way I used to think about it is, it's not the way around you think it is, because we in the UK had 240 volt plugs, so I always assumed that it was 24 frames per second because it was something to do with the cycling of the voltage, which it clearly isn't.
No, it's to do with the frequency. No, it's the fact that for something like Doctor Who, which was partially filmed on film and partially filmed on videotape, that was all done at 25 frames a second. And I just assumed that because UFO is being broadcast on telly, that they would have shot it on film at 25 frames a second. Apparently that's not the case. They shot it on 24 frames a second, which means the Blu-ray is actually the correct version, or the more correct version, and the version on DVD and at 25 frames a second is slightly speeded up. So I just assumed that it was the other way around, that it had been shot for telly at 25 frames a second, and that it had been slowed down for Blu-ray, which is wrong. Anyway, I will do another video episode explaining that, and delete the one that I've already put out there.
You can also add the bit where they talk about how they can film TV monitors on film to then be broadcast on telly. You can add that all in as well. And you know what? I completely bow to your superior knowledge on that one, and you're welcome to go off and do that. There was something else about frames per second as well.
You should do a short kind of solo episode at some point to insert into the schedule when we run out of things to put out.
I certainly will.
The other thing that we need to do before we dive into this week's episode, I realise we've already been waffling for a few minutes, is the one person we missed from Doctor Who Watch last time.
Yes.
Which was Adrienne Corey, who was playing Liz Newton. Did you recognise her? I know it's been a while, Michael.
No, the thing is, right, if I had, I would have mentioned it, so I didn't.
Right. So she was in a 1980 episode of Doctor Who called The Leisure Hive, as one of the Argolins. So full of green wig and yellow dress and makeup.
Were they the ones with the literally the beehive hair?
Yes, and as they aged, jewels fell out of their hair until they lost all of them and died.
Well, it happens to the best of us.
They had a thing they could go into to regenerate themselves.
Yes.
So apologies to Adrian Corey fans for missing her out. So we have limited time, so let's dive in, Michael. Can you give us a synopsis? Well, can you tell us what episode we're looking at today and give us a synopsis?
Okay, today it's court-martial. And the synopsis, as written in the Big Book of Synopsises, is: all the evidence points to Paul Foster being the man who is being giving away shadow secrets. He is court-martialed and sentenced to death, but Straker is unable to believe Forrester's guilt and investigates further. At Forrester's home, he discovers a bugging device, and when he finds the bug was planted by an industrial spy trying to learn the secrets of Paul's cover career, as a movie executive, the innocence of Paul is freed. And, as always, yeah, it is a synopsis, but it's not. It doesn't tell you what's going on. I mean, you've got the story starting halfway through, but not having the wibbly flashback thing. You've got characters who you think worked for Shadow, but turning up in somebody else's job, and then them having to do a quick rewrite so that he's got both jobs at once. You've got all sorts going on. And you've also got the man who answers the phone being possibly the greatest performance in the entire series of the programme for me in this one. So there's a lot happening here.
Go on then. Tell me, why is Keith Ford the best in this episode?
Being interrogated, and he gets asked, how does the communications device work? He tells them, right? And then they go, oh, hang on, can we just stop you there? We didn't realise you'd answer correctly. And he gets, he gets told to shut up, basically, and do it in layman's terms. And he rolls his eyes and he's like, well, for thickos out there, it works like this. And it's one of the nicest bits of writing in the entire series. And then they call in the milk tray man to answer questions as well. But that's beside the point. I do like Keith Ford. He's rapidly becoming my all-time favourite character in the series.
He's and you started going, oh, some minion. That was your opinion of him in the first episode.
Did. You know what? He's just grown on me over time. He certainly has.
He does. Because he's one of those people that when you first meet him, you're like, oh, he's just a small bit part. But he's actually one of the people that's in it most of the way through. So
yeah.
That whole explanation of how it works, it just seems so antiquated now, doesn't it? The fact that you'd have to kind of write your instructions down. Yeah. And then they have this kind of complicated system for feeding into a computer and then... Our security
check consists of it. What? Hey, how does that work? Okay.
There's also the question. I mean, obviously, this episode hinges on the fact that he has to have worked at home for the spying to have happened, and it just the thing occurred to me was like, well, why is he writing instructions for Skydiver at home? Surely he's much better equipped to do that at work when he has kind of access to the computers. I
suspect
and all that kind of stuff.
He's playing solitaire on his computer at work, and then he realises, oh God, I've not done it properly. I'll just do that. But not only is he writing instructions at work, he's saying them out loud, which is a surprise, because he's saying them out loud at home. So obviously he's not very good at writing. And he just does that thing. Maybe he sticks his tongue out while he writes as well. Because obviously the instructions have to be picked up by the snooper and then relayed to the waste ground where they're picked up by someone else. It's very 1980s Russian spy thriller, rather than getting directly sent to the journalist woman. And she wouldn't just have assumed that he was working on a sci-fi film. It's one of those things. If you look at it too close, you go, that doesn't really work, does it? But it's probably, we're Doctor Who fans. We don't look that close.
No, we do.
You're right. Actually, you're so right.
The thing I was thinking about this episode is that, and you can do this with any genre show. Is how much would you have to rewrite it for it to become an episode of something else?
Okay.
And I kind of feel that there are some episodes of UFO which don't play to the strengths of the format.
I've got you, yeah.
And this is one of them. Which is not to say that it's a bad episode. It's just that it wouldn't take much to rewrite it to be an episode of something else.
It could make a really good episode of The Professionals. At a stretch, it could be The Avengers.
It's basically take any show which is about a secret or even military organisation. Actually, it doesn't even need to be a secret organisation. It just needs to be a military organisation where you can be court-martialed and sentenced to death for spilling secrets.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't take much rewriting to make the bulk of this episode into another show. That was my initial thought, and then I thought, well, actually, it's another of those episodes. Although there isn't any UFO stuff going on.
Indeed, that's one of my notes in big writing. It says there is no UFOs.
But it does explore the whole cover of Shadow.
Yes.
And you get to see more of how the film studio works.
True.
Which is, again, another kind of sort of meta level of, well, we're filming this in the film studio that we're filming this in.
Yeah. And they show you back projection in practice, which is really nice.
Yes, it's like, this is how we achieve some effects, and we're going to show you how it works. Which I think is just it's a lovely thing about UFO. Is that
and they've messed the grading as well, so that it looks even more back projection-y. The effect that most of the back projection people try and get rid of, they've made worse, so that you know you're watching it going, oh, that doesn't look real, and then it pulls out and you go, oh no, it really isn't real. Yeah, that's fine. And one of our questions is answered. Go on, sorry.
I was just going to say, the funny thing for me is that it's not that long ago that I watched The Girl Who Was Death from The Prisoner, which features a back projection on a roller coaster.
Yes.
Very obviously so. And so it's just quite funny that you see the same thing in UFO, and then it's like, oh, actually, no, we're going to reveal to you that it is back projection. And Paul Foster is just larking around with his cover story of being a film executive. So that was,
we're all over the place again, but the important thing that we've banged on about for the last 10 episodes or whatever it is that we don't know how everyone who isn't Straker turns up to work. And this is the one episode, to the best of my knowledge, where you get to see another entrance, or albeit an escape route, into Shadow HQ. Because when
only
Paul escapes,
Straker, isn't it?
Yeah. I know, right? That whole thing. Can I just say, right? They're trying to milk Straker as an enigma, right? And there's a question where he's interrogated, and he says, "So, do you want me to answer that as a man or as his boss?" And then he says, "Well, let's have both." And he goes, "As a man, I'm not going to tell you." And you go, "Well, shut up then." And as his boss, no, it's like, shut up. This is a character witness. This is like the man's on trial for his life, and he's still going, "Nah, I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to be an enigma." And you're like, please, you're meant to be his friend. Could you not say something nice? But no.
But we know this. I don't know. We had an email from somebody when we criticised Straker the other week quite a number of weeks ago in the Dalatech affair.
Yeah,
and I think it's just there's an element of having not served in the military.
Yeah.
There are aspects of military life that we find difficult to relate to.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
And I think we poo-pooed him for doing something, and somebody emailed in and said, basically, no, that's a totally reasonable thing for a military person to do. And obviously, this was written and made in the late 70s, so the majority of people working on it would have done national service or been in the war.
Yes.
And this, I suppose the same could be said for people watching it as well. So I just wonder whether there are aspects of this that we don't get because we've not served in the military.
Well, you know what? I'm willing to go with that, but I don't think so, because all right, my experience of the military and is like military in fiction. And if you want to compare it to anything, you can compare it to like Drumhead in Star Trek Next Generation, which is another court-martial episode. And it's very different.
Who's to say that's more accurate? I don't know. I'm just...
that's a good point, because again, that would be echoing of the US military, and that's like, we're in the realm of Scientology then, so let's not go there.
No, I think you do have a point, though. There is that element of...
right.
Straker the Straker the man, Straker the father who doesn't reveal what's going on with his son in A Question of Priorities.
Yeah.
He this is what he does. He separates his personal life as far as he can from his professional life. And never the twain shall meet, and damage the character he is because of that.
Yes.
So I think that aspect is totally true to his character so far.
I think the clever bit of this episode isn't the overall arc. I mean, the business about would Straker be the man who has art in his office or not?
Yeah.
That thing, that worried me. I was lying in bed thinking about that, and then I realised that's not a clever thing to be doing. It's like 2 a.m, and I'm going, is Straker the sort of man who would have art? If your boss had a picture on the wall that you thought, that's an odd picture, would you think, I could jump through that? At any point, no, you wouldn't. I don't think so, anyway.
It's a leap. It's a leap, a literal leap, obviously.
I'm hoping you can help me, right? Because I've got my notes out. Now, I did write these notes a while back.
Okay.
And there's one of the notes has just attracted my eye. And I have literally no idea what it means. It's an utter mystery. It says, oh, look, it's the annoying Space Womble man again. Right? I have no idea what that means.
Annoying Space Womble man. As in underground, overground, wombling free.
Wombling free, yeah. Oh, look, it's the annoying Space Womble. I have literally no idea what I've written.
I have no idea what you've written either.
It will come to me at some point, and I'll go, oh, yeah, that makes complete sense. But right now, no idea at all.
I mean, in terms of, if we take the Womble and space out of it, you've the annoying people, I suppose. You've got General Henderson, who's back again, and Dr. Jackson, who...
yes, of course, he is the Space Womble, because he was tidying up. That was the entire storyline of the other episode.
Oh, so because you referred to him as the Space Womble.
He was the Space Womble, because his job was meant to be running Shadow, but he got damaged in the car crash, apparently. Not that we have seen that episode yet. But he ended up running the Space Wombling Free Society, where they just travel into space and tidy up. He is the Space Womble.
So
thank
you're
you so
saying
much.
General Henderson is the Space Womble, right?
Yes.
Okay, right, yes. And it is the return of him, and he gets to preside over this trial because...
Yeah. But he's also managed to... he gets to preside over the trial because he tricked Straker, because he planted the bug in Straker's car. That's to prove that they always check for bugs. It was a nice bit of seeding in the episode, because obviously checking for bugs has never been mentioned in any other episode of UFO at any point.
No. Do you have anything to say about him other than that he's back?
Well, he's basically the villain of the piece. Because
I don't know,
he's the one who pushes for it.
But yes, he pushes for it, but then you've got Dr. Jackson as the prosecutor is definitely the one who's really shoving the knife in, and it seems to be quite enjoying the fact that he gets to
prove himself wrong as well. Because
because there's that whole thing where you're like, but Dr. Jackson was involved in the team that approved Foster in the first place, and so initially you're kind of thinking, well, but I think the fact that they acknowledge that within the script is a great piece of continuity.
Yes,
for the show, because a lot of these are standalone, and obviously, as we know from the different orders that they were broadcast in, you could broadcast them in any order. I mean, obviously that what we're referring to Exposed, which is Paul Foster's first episode, so you couldn't show that after this one.
No.
But it's one of those things where there's definitely a kind of order, particularly, I suppose, to Foster, in that there's various references to kind of, when he's new, and then there's references to kind of like, 6 months ago. So you know that there are various points that he's been in the organisation for longer than he might appear to have. And obviously by the time of this episode, he's a trusted member of the organisation, although he's definitely still the new kid on the block.
Yeah, but from a viewer's point of view, he is the second. He's almost the second in command, but not quite.
Yes, it's one of those things where in some episodes, he sort of usurps the position of, and his name's gone again because I always keep thinking of him as his Doctor Who character. Freeman, yes.
Freeman, yeah.
So you've got Straker and Freeman, this established pairing, and sometimes Foster sort of usurps Freeman's place. Sometimes Foster and Freeman sort of have that friendship going on, which clearly isn't there with Straker.
No, it makes complete sense, yeah.
What do you think about the resolution of the episode?
Well, in all of these things, you've got to have your basic reset, where everything goes back to the way things were. Do you mean the resolution in the sense of they find the bugs, but only when they switch the light on? Just in the sense of them going, oh, it was all fine. The £10,000 thing, I do like that business, $10,000. It's always dollars in this program. Have you noticed that? Program shot set in here, because where the English, as a viewing public, are a lot more forgiving. But on the cash front, in the whole series, it's always dollars.
It's always dollars.
Yeah,
I'd not noticed that, but it's one of those ones of is this a possible future prediction?
But then again, I realised saying that if you listen to some Goon episodes from the 50s on the radio, some episodes of the Goons, they do talk in dollars when they're talking about cash. It's odd.
Yes, I mean obviously this is, as with all Jerry Anderson shows, being made to be sold to the States.
Yes.
And so the more American that you can make it, in terms of those references, so the whole driving on the right and saying that Britain will be using dollars in 10 years' time, I mean, that's those make it more accessible, don't they? No, I mean, when I said, what did you feel about the resolution, was because it felt really badly paced. And then I read something in the Chris Bentley book, which made me think, I wish they'd made it like that.
Yes.
And what I mean by the pacing is that you have this whole sequence of Foster being chased through a quarry.
Mm-hmm. And he gets shot.
Which goes on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
And is really dull. If you want person being chased through a quarry and shot at done well, then we're talking the beginning of episode 4 of The Caves of Androzani, which is Peter Davison's last story as Doctor Who. If you want person being pursued through a quarry and shot at done really dully, watch this. And I felt that because there was a lot of that, there wasn't enough time to elaborate on the detective work that Straker and Freeman were having to do.
Yeah.
And that's also just because the episode took so much time getting to the point of them working out what was going on and then trying to resolve it. Anyway,
yeah.
Let me read from the Chris Bentley book, and you'll see what I mean.
I shall listen.
So, Tony Barwick's shooting script included a UFO sighting and successful interception at the start of the episode, so there would have been some UFO stuff, as well as an additional scene in which Straker and Freeman coerce information from surveillance device manufacturer Singleton by dousing him in petroleum solvent and threatening to set light to him with a blow lamp.
Okay.
Because, and obviously that sounds violent, and there were probably reasons where they were like, actually, it's a bit that's a bit nasty. But it would have made more sense of how they were able to get the information out of the guy. Because if this guy makes a living by selling dodgy surveillance equipment to spies, he's not going to roll over that easily.
No.
And I felt that aspect was kind of missing from the episode. And the fact that it was in the script originally didn't make it into the final one, I was just like, okay, that's why the ending doesn't quite work for me. Because it's paced, the pacing's just off, and what was needed was a bit more of the detective work and a bit less of the Foster running through a quarry.
No, that makes complete sense. It does. Also, I've got the episode on in the background, and I know somebody would email it anyway, but apparently there were 3 cameras in his apartment as well, so that would have been held responsible for him writing instructions down to send a skydiver, and that writing turning up. So it wasn't just tape recorders.
No. That wasn't my issue, because I was when I was watching it, I was thinking, hang on, and then yes, that was a nice line to explain how they could see what he'd written down. It was more just if I was writing instructions to my secret submarine,
you'd do it at work.
You'd do it at work when you had access to kind of all the data that you would need to make a sensible decision about when to tell it to surface.
Yeah.
And it just seems to be kind of against any decent security protocol that any secret organisation would have anyway.
But then again,
you can't write down stuff at home.
How many MI5 laptops have been left on trains? So it's not that far-fetched. Sadly. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, in the Barwick book, they keep talking about the way you can film TV screens, and they were all very smug about that.
Yes.
Do you not think that's the special effect thing that they're talking about when the guy's talking about how his film was made, and it deals with a strobing effect?
I hadn't thought about that, but that does make sense, doesn't it? Because the whole thing is that she's trying to spy on industrial secrets of the film world, and they've managed to do something for this new film that will revolutionise filmmaking, and it's a top secret. Yeah, no, it could be. That is a good thought.
Which is even more meta, if you think about it.
Oh, it's all incredibly meta, yeah.
And I don't even like using the word meta, So yeah, it's a perfectly reasonable episode. It's kind like you said, the pacing just feels weird because they've got the evidence that Paul's innocent, and then he tries to escape. Surely, in order to get him to come in, they could have just stood with a microphone going, "Paul, it's fine. We've sorted it. You're fine. You're innocent. Oh, we still haven't sorted out where the 10 grand's from, but apart from that, you're fine."
Yes, and I suppose it's one of those timing things as well, isn't it? The chase sequence is being intercut with the other stuff.
Yeah.
And so you kind of think that actually there's a lot for them to do whilst he's being chased. And I wonder whether it's one of those things where, for dramatic effect, they've done that, so that actually he'd been shot well before they figured it out, and then you get the whole actually he was an anaesthetic bullet thing. But yes, I take your point. I mean, I'm thinking there's another example of something like that. Or there's probably lots of examples of something like that, isn't there? Where somebody's locked up and somebody on the outside is working to free them, and then in the meantime they take things into their own hands and they needn't have bothered because the rescue was just coming. Do you have any more notes on this before we dive into our watch for the week?
No. Just my dislike of General Henderson is on the record, and that's fine.
Yes, he is. Yeah, because Henderson is just annoying, whereas you have a kind of sneaking liking for Jackson whilst he's being thoroughly horrible. Yes, and I suppose that's just down to the performance, isn't it?
Always. The performance of the psychiatrist is just great, and it's nice that he accepts defeat incredibly graciously, because he just was like, I was, because you can see the way his mind's going, and he's probably thinking, I was right in the first place to do a security clearance. I'm completely vindicated. I'm fine.
Yes, because it's a win either way for him, because on the one hand, there's his professional reputation at stake, having cleared Foster for duty, but on the other hand, he thinks he's got a good solid prosecution case, and so if his prosecution goes through, well then, hey, I've done a good job.
But the business with Straker and the recorder at the end, that's just weird. The one where they finish with it. They finish on a joke.
And they do the joke,
any kind of a way.
Yes.
Where,
that was slightly cringeworthy, I have to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
It might as well have been like sort of Police Squad, where everybody just sort of starts laughing and then they freeze screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
I suppose it just highlights that ongoing relationship between Henderson and Straker, that they really don't like each other, which is a shame, because we obviously know that they did like each other at one point before the series began.
Mm-hmm. And of course the guards appear to be using air guns as well, which implies that they are trying to bring him down with tranquilizer darts.
Yeah, but aren't those the guns that they normally have?
In the moon.
Oh, yes. I suppose, yes, it is, yeah.
Right, sorry, so do you have anything to add?
No, I don't think I've got anything more to say. I mean, it's just a solidly middling episode, this one, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not outstanding, but it's not terrible.
But it does, for me, it actually got better on the second watch.
Yeah.
Which has surprised me, because that hasn't always happened.
No, I think sometimes they drag a bit more on second view sometimes. Well, I mean, so we've come to the end of that one, and let's just dive into Anderson Watch for the week. We've got quite a few people to get through.
Yeah, so we've got our usual suspects as always.
We've got Anderson Watch, Doctor Who Watch, and Prisoner Watch this week. So I'm
going to let you down left, right, and centre. Let's just assume that you don't know any of the Anderson ones. So I'm just going to run through those. Okay.
So we have Jack Headley, who was Foster's defence lawyer.
Yep.
Who I suppose didn't really do a great job, but then he didn't have much to go on. He would later appear in a Space Precinct two-parter called The Fire Within.
I did like that.
I did like
Space Precinct a lot.
I've never seen Space Precinct. It's one of those ones that I feel I ought to see.
It was as good as from an audience point of view. I think it was as good as watching a Next Gen episode. I've got no issues with Space Precinct at all. Maybe its name was a bit ropey, but apart from that, that was good. Oh, I'll tell you what though, ITV3 at this moment is showing The Protectors in the middle of the night. So if you've got ITV3 as a channel and you're in the UK and you've never seen it before, it's Tony Barwick's done loads of it. You'll see loads of people who've been in UFO left, right, and centre. It's a standard definition broadcast, so it wouldn't even take up a lot of your hard drive. And just tape it and watch it. They're 25-minute episodes, and you see so many people from UFO. It's unbelievable. So from the Anderson Watch, go on.
We've got a couple of those coming up. One is Neil McCallum, who plays the Carl Mason, the annoyed film director in Court Martial, who's like, "Hey Foster, I want him thrown out of the studio for my secrets." He was in an episode. He was in an episode of The Protectors called "One and One Makes One," playing a character called Bennett. But he's probably better known for playing Dr. Ray Pierce in Thunderbirds Are Go, one of the scientists who went on the Mars mission in the Thunderbirds Are Go movie. And then he was a voice for a few episodes of Captain Scarlet as well.
Excellent.
And then Michael Glover, who was the guard with the very 70s hairstyle, the one who comes into Foster's cell while Foster is kind of waiting.
Indeed, yes. The one who I thought originally, when I was watching the DVD version, was the actor who'd played Leela's dad in Doctor Who, because I had him down for Doctor Who Watch.
He does look a bit like him, yes. But no, yes, he appeared in an episode of The Protectors called Wham. Wham, W-A-M, playing a character called Davies. So that's your Anderson Watch for the week. Now, did you spot any Doctor Who?
Well, I thought I'd seen him, but obviously I was wrong.
These are all blink and you missed them, and I didn't spot any of them.
Well, if you missed them, then the normal mortals amongst us didn't stand much of a chance.
So the first is Louise Pageau.
Even the name doesn't ring a bell.
No? Oh, well, no, because she had quite a big Doctor Who role. So she was Miss Scott, who was General Henderson's receptionist.
Right.
So his version of Miss Eland.
Yes.
And
she's on my screen as we speak.
There you go. So she was Gia Kelly in The Seeds of Death.
Hang on. I always get The Seeds of Death and The Seeds of Doom mixed up.
Seeds of Death is the Troughton one.
Right.
So she's the one who goes up to fix Moonbase.
Oh, she's the one who knows what she's doing.
Yes, exactly. It's a really good.
Yes, she's a great
gender
character.
Reversal kind of role for the time, because it's all the men are being incompetent or traitorous.
Yeah,
and she's the one that knows what's going on.
Yeah.
So it's just a shame to see her here, sort of probably filmed later that same year. in such a small role, and you barely see her face, which is why I didn't recognise her.
You so can't imagine that this is the same year as those Troughton stories. It seems you would, if you didn't know better, you'd swear there was 4 or 5 years apart.
Yes, so I think the thing that you have to watch is you have to watch this and then Spearhead from Space, because that was made on film.
Yeah,
and it's the one Doctor Who story that is comparable to this.
No, you're right, and I've got that on Blu-ray as well. So
but even that's different because UFO was made on 35mm.
35mm, and the other one's 16, isn't it?
Yes. So there is a difference in quality there. So, let's rattle on with Who Watch. Paul Greenhalgh or Haig, I don't know how you pronounce his name, who played the assistant director, so a very small part, was a guardian in The Ark, which is a William Hartnell Doctor Who story.
With the monoids, I do like that one.
With the monoids, yes. And then Toot Lemkov, who played Singleton, so the guy who supplied the listening device, very small part in this episode, and he is one of those poor actors whose entire Who oeuvre is missing.
Oh,
he's in three Hartnell stories, and all of them are.
Is it the Pirates?
No, so he's in Marco Polo.
Excellent.
Which is entirely missing. He's in one episode of The Crusade, one of the missing episodes.
One of the missing episodes of The Crusade, yeah.
And then he's in The Mythmakers, which is entirely missing.
Oh, that's the one I want returned, you know. That is the one that I always wanted to see as a kid.
It would be lovely, wouldn't it?
When I found out about the missing episodes, I was like, that's not likely. But then I was working my way through the Target books, and I just wanted... It was The Mythmakers had such a glorious cover. I have distracted us with Who Chat. Let's crash on.
No, that's fine. So, this is the one where I'm hoping, Michael, that you have spotted her, because this is Prisoner Watch.
Okay.
Who in this episode was in The Prisoner?
Well, from the way you asked the question, it's a woman. It's no one we've mentioned. Is it the actress who was supposed to get the role?
No.
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 Hang on, we're pushed on. It was the spy woman.
Yes.
What, the journalist?
The woman who was actually doing the spying.
Oh yeah, the one. Right. Okay. Who was she in The Prisoner?
Okay. So, well, I can't.
Oh, I'm letting everyone down now.
I can't. It's a slight spoiler. One of the episodes that she's in. Okay, so she plays a woman in The Prisoner's Dream in A, B, and C.
Right. That's enough. We don't need to say any more than that.
No, no, that's not a spoiler one. And then she also plays Mrs. Butterworth in the episode Many Happy Returns. And I won't say anything more about Mrs. Butterworth because that is a spoiler.
Yes.
But you know who Mrs. Butterworth is in that episode of The Prisoner,
Indeed.
I believe.
I'm so tempted to go and watch that episode, to be fair.
So that's our actors for the week. Quite a lot of them. And you didn't spot any of them.
I didn't.
I think when I first watched this, I spotted her and nobody else.
She did look very familiar. Because
yes.
I was thinking, I know her from something, but I'm just no good when people are out of context. I'm like that in real life. If I see someone in Tesco's that I know from somewhere else, it takes me a good 3 minutes before I can even figure out where I know them from. They could be someone off the TV or someone that I've worked with. It's terrible. I'm not good from people out of context. It's rubbish.
No, I get that sometimes, and particularly because I meet a lot of new people.
Oh yeah, you do. Yeah.
Going networking a lot, and then you see them out of context, and you're like, I know you from somewhere, and then you realise that you saw them across a room once, and you didn't actually have a conversation with them. Indeed. And if you went up and said hello, they wouldn't know who you were, or they'd be in the same position in relation to you. And yes, certainly if you occasionally see someone off the telly, and you're like, I know you, and then you realise that they won't have a clue who you are because you're not famous.
Because television is a one-way medium.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, so I think that brings us to the end of this week's UFOcast.
That does. What will we be looking at next week, Michael?
Next week, it's the exciting Close-Up, which was the very first episode I ever saw of UFO.
Ooh, well, you can tell us about your memories of that next time.
Indeed. So until next time, be seeing you.
Be seeing you. You have been listening to the UFOcast with me, Luke, from Tmudwup.
And me, Michael, from the Tin Dog Podcast.
Please get in touch with the show. Let us know what you think and any feedback you might have at ufocast@yahoo.com.
Or on Twitter at UFO_cast. Available on Stitcher and iTunes. "2018 brings with it 3 brilliant conventions, all held at the Derby Quad. ShadowCon 2. The UFO convention will be on June the 30th, 2018. Hooverville, the best little Doctor Who convention in the world, is on Saturday the 1st of September, while Big Finish Day is on the 3rd of November 2018. All tickets are available from the Derby Quad website." That was the Doctor Who Tin Dog Podcast, available on iTunes, YouTube, Twitter, RSS, Vimeo, and across the internet. Doctor Who and its associated properties are all copyright and trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Why not become a supporter by visiting patreon.com/tindog. Contact the show on tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk. The Tin Dog Podcast is a founder member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance.